All right, picture this. You're an attacker, you're in an environment, you got what you want. Now it's time to get out of there. What are you going to do? First step, probably cover your tracks, right? Well, sounds great unless they have AI query, which will be able to detect it. And let me show you exactly how. All right, so before we hop into the tech, let's take a step back and look at some of the tactics, techniques, and procedures associated with an attacker attempting to cover their tracks. So in order to do so, we're obviously going to head on over to MITRE and check out the attack framework. If you're not familiar, it's a comprehensive, ever-evolving breakdown and knowledge base of tactics, techniques, and procedures utilized by the adversary, making it wildly helpful to us as defenders to identify how exactly they're achieving this, what potential attacks they're associated in, and potential detection or mitigation techniques. So, with that said, clearing their tracks, we're going to look for indicator removal, which we can see right here as T1070, right there. And then we're going to look for the specific sub technique of clearing Windows event logs. And so we could look for a number of these, right? But want to keep this video short and sweet. And so we're just going to focus on 001, which is clearing Windows event logs. And we can see right here how exactly they'd be able to achieve that with admin privileges. Event logs can be cleared with the following utility commands. We're specifically going to look for the security log in this one as a reference point, but we can also see that can be done via PowerShell right here with remove event log name security if they have the proper permissions. Next, we can see attacks that this has been associated in, and this is not all encompassing, but just examples of attacks or APTs where this specific technique has been utilized. As you can see, it's a lot. And then down here we can see mitigations and then detection. So we're actually a little bit more interested in the detections, where specifically it's this item right here. When the event log's cleared, a new event is created for the security logs that has a specified event code, which is great. Now we'll leave the rest to AI. So now we know exactly what we're looking for and how. Let's pivot on over to the console, select our device, which has been giving us a little bit of problems lately, acting a bit weird. Don't know why. I did it. And then give it a title that makes sense for what we're looking for. And then, of course, we are AI query. Let's utilize AI. And so then we're going to go over to QuerySmith. We're going to specify the mode as Windows Event Log, which I'll explain why in just a moment. And then we'll say security log cleared user data and hit generate. So the reason why we're using Windows Event Log mode, because you attuned listeners, if you've watched prior videos, we do have a mode that's specifically built off MITRE's tactics, techniques, and overall attack framework, where you can specify the TID, so in this case 1070.001, and it will generate an OS query where possible for that specified indicator. Really cool. I'm super hyped about it. But in this specific example, since we know from the detector we just saw that it's generating a Windows log file, we're going to use the Windows Event Log mode because it does a better job at actually parsing and extracting the JSON out of those log files. So with that said, let's check out what results were generated for us here. And we can see user data, log file cleared, subject SID, which is great. Most of these events are event ID and then the actual target. So we can see here that the format is appropriate, which is very helpful because you don't actually have to go look up every single log file's format. Let AI do the heavy lifting for you, whether it's the query, whether it's what to extract. Just ask it what you want. AI will do the rest. Then we're going to go ahead, we'll hit accept, and we will execute. Then we'll pivot on over to results, and we can see it's in progress on our given device. If we hit refresh, we should probably have results here in a minute, and we already have results. There's no video editing here. I'm not good enough at that in order to do it that quickly. It really returns that fast. Anyway, so here we are. We have our results for our target device. We're seeing the device name, the subject login ID, the subject username, so essentially who actually cleared this log, and we can see it was Nick. Wow, that Nick guy seems like he sucks, right? But in all actuality, what we can interpret from this is one, both we've identified an attacker trying to cover tracks, and more importantly, now we have another piece of the puzzle in the full investigative story, which is that Nick, the user, must be compromised. So now we're going to want to take some steps back, look for other abnormal activity that potentially could be associated with that user. Maybe he had his credentials stolen. We may look for where remote logins exist, things like that. But ultimately, we now have achieved a small piece of the puzzle, identified an attacker trying to cover their tracks, and now we have a bigger question of, okay, so we know they try to cover their tracks. What exactly did they do in the first place? And then how exactly did they get there and compromise this user, Nick? So that's for a later video, though. This is a quick, short video, so hopefully that was helpful. Check out our additional videos on our LinkedIn and our YouTube channel, and otherwise, stay tuned for the next use case and feature video. Thanks, everyone. See ya.